Okay, ready?
Gladly.
Let's call it to order.
Beckwith,
Here.
Cheng, Farkapisi,
Here.
Kotsinis,
Here.
Linsdau, absent, Sutton.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Warren Newport Public Library District provides the community with access to information, kindles the imagination of children and adults, and supports lifelong learning. Okay, we're going to have a moment of silence for Diana Sills now, please. Okay. I would add to that how lovely the celebration of life was on Friday. It was lovely and very moving, and Noreen did a fabulous job, and so did Ryan. It was really lovely. So, okay, public comment? Okay, Kathleen. Is that where we are?
You are correct.
Okay, Kathleen.
We don't have any written correspondence.
You really have to do this.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I don't
Not if you don't want to.
I would like to make a motion to accept the resolution.
Why don't you wait till after we read it?
Don't you have to read it? Don't you have to do the motion?
I think we read
to
it first
discuss
and
it?
then we make the motion, because I
Okay,
went and looked at
whatever
the
way
old
you-
agenda
whatever way
before I
you
came
want.
tonight.
You can tell I still don't know the rules.
Oh, well,
This feels so right.
The discussion before.
I am at home. You're on Friday, right?
I know, I am too, so we'll be, that's not good, but, okay. A resolution of appreciation to Kathleen Kepman for dedicated service to the Warren Newport Public Library District. Whereas Kathleen Kepman faithfully served the Warren Newport Public Library District for nearly 2 years as a library trustee. And whereas Kathleen Kepman faithfully served previously as a library trustee from April 1995 to April 1997. And whereas Kathleen Kepman worked with the WNPLD Board of Trustees and Executive Director Livergood to improve resources and services to our patrons. And whereas Kathleen Kepman lent her leadership to the board as chair of the policy committee, learning that challenging job with dedication and a strong work ethic. And whereas Kathleen Kepman discussed ideas with curiosity and a sense of fairness, always seriously considering points of view that differed from her own. And whereas Kathleen Kepman brought wit and humor to the board's discussions and debates, adding a welcome touch of celebration to our restored culture of productivity and harmony. And whereas Kathleen Kepman was an avid proponent of WNPL who placed patrons and the community at the heart of her decision-making. And whereas Kathleen Kepman contributed to the success of the library through periods of growth, planning, and innovation, including the establishment of Celebration Square and the envisioning of the Flex in 2018, and the decision to go fine-free in 2019. And whereas Kathleen Kepman is first and foremost not a library trustee, but a library patron who loves libraries in general and WNPL in particular. And whereas Kathleen Kepman will always be welcomed back as a friend of the Warren Newport Public Library. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Library Trustees of the Warren Newport Public Library District that Kathleen Kepman is hereby commended for her dedication, loyalty, and commitment to the residents of this district and the citizenry of Warren and Newport Townships. The Secretary of the District is hereby authorized and instructed to deliver a certified copy of this resolution to Kathleen Ketman as a permanent record of the appreciation of the Board of Library Trustees of this district for her service to the community and to the district.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm not going to do a Tom, so I'm going to sit down.
Can I say so moved?
She's got to always get her to.
Thank you very much.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want me to sign something?
Okay, you want to make your motion now, or was that it?
So moved.
Okay.
Another gift from Kathleen.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a roll call for that. Oh, did we get a second?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
George.
Sorry.
Kotsinis,
Aye.
Farkapisi,
Aye.
Sutton,
Aye.
Cheng,
Aye.
Linsdau, absent, Beckwith,
Aye.
ayes have it.
Go on with your stuff.
Okay, now we're going to have a break and celebrate.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Have some
informal
food.
Kathleen.
Thank you for coming, Wayne.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we ask Kevin to edit out the social time from the video. Can I have a second for that?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Cool. All right, now I'd like to make a motion that we move item 8C, opportunity to refinance debt.
Point of,
Sorry,
Information.
13, sorry. 13C, to the next item so that Doug can participate
got it.
early in the meeting. Can I have a second for that?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Cool. So we're on 13C.
So, let's see,
Come to the table if you'd
Yes.
like.
yeah. I'm gonna let Doug kind of give you the executive summary, big picture overview of this, because, you know, the whole idea, which I presented to the board very briefly a couple weeks ago, was there's an opportunity for us to refinance our debt. And Doug and I had a conversation with Andrea the other day, went into some details. Andrea had some good questions for us. But what Doug's going to do right now is talk about this opportunity, what it would mean for us, and how it could benefit us. So.
Sure, absolutely. So a little bit of background, that these bonds were issued in 2010, and we issued at that point $9.88 million. And currently we're at $6.415 million, so we paid off roughly a third. And when we issued them, they were not callable until December of 2019. So that means that we could not refinance them earlier than that. But 2019 is coming close, and so now we have the opportunity to refinance if the rates at which you can issue the bonds would be lower than what we are currently paying at. And so what we're currently paying at is 4.75 to 6. Now, there's a range in there because the bonds are broken up into smaller pieces, and the longer they go out, the higher the interest rate, because there's more risk that an investor would have. So we had to pay a higher interest rate. These are also Build America bonds. So back then, when we issued them, the federal government said to try and spur the economy to incentivize people to actually buy these. So they gave actually a portion of the interest back to the bond issuers. So it was 35% of the interest was given back to us. So when we calculate what our effective interest rate is, we have to take basically 65% of what the interest rate was. So when you do that to the original, from 4.75 it comes to 3.0875, and 6 goes to 3.9. So the effective interest rate is a little bit lower, so you have to compare that. The other thing that happened is the federal government was running out of money back then, so they had the sequester. So they didn't quite give us the amount that they said they were going to. So we actually only get 93.8% of what they originally said they were going to give us. So the effective rate would be a little bit higher than, what I said, the 3.0875.
So we're getting a 32%, 32.8, 1/3 instead of 35.
Roughly, right. So that's basically a little bit of the background. Jamie Rackling, who was an employee of BMO at the time that we actually issued these bonds, was involved in our issuing of these bonds. So he's quite familiar with our workings and the situation with the library. And we have been keeping in touch. He and I have discussed about, there's reporting requirements that you have to do with these bonds, and he and I have been talking about that as I've been doing that. So since we've been keeping in touch, he's also keeping me informed about what the interest rate were and whether it'd be beneficial to actually then refinance these. So he's put together information, and he's basically taken the value of the bonds and the rates that we have and compared it with the current interest rates that are out there. And for your handout that you have, this main first page, basically, as of about a month ago, is 2.69% would be what the rate would be for all the various durations of the bonds that are left. And obviously, the same thing applies. As the maturity goes longer, we pay a higher rate. But this would be what the blended rate would be. And using those rates and the rates that we currently have, calculated annual savings of $33,567.36, which is on that first column towards the very bottom, second to last row, and then the very last row is the amount that we would save over the duration of the bonds, so $335,000. So at this point, would definitely beneficial. I mean, we could definitely use $33,000 a year for the library and for the citizens of the Warren Newport Public Library District. So there are some options that we have. One is we just refinance the amount for the same duration. That's pretty much straightforward. We have the possibility of paying them off early, which if you calculate it, it might save you one payment. So really wouldn't be shortening the duration too long. Also, another option that we would have would be to actually increase the duration so that you would actually be paying less per year. You'll obviously be paying more interest. That is also an option that we could do. Also, since we're doing the refinancing, you have the option of actually increasing the amount financed. So that's if we had an actual need where we said, oh, we need an extra $1 million or whatever. That's an option. Although when we've looked at the cash flow with Ryan and I don't necessarily see that is a need at this point. So unless you guys can think of something else that the library does need that I'm not aware of, I wouldn't necessarily suggest that option, but it is an option, so I just want you to be aware of that. Some of the risks. Obviously, it's callable in December, but there's some wiggle room. You can actually refinance them 3 months earlier, so we could do that in September. And that's no adjustment to the rates. We could also actually set it up so we could actually do it in June. Now what happens with June is
June
that...
of what year?
June of this year. But what happens is you have to pay a little bit of a premium to lock in the rates. Sort of if you're buying a house and you wanted to just lock in your rates, but you knew you weren't going to buy it for another couple of months. Same principle. especially if we were thinking that, in the past couple of years, the Fed has been raising the rates pretty aggressively. So you're thinking, if the Fed's gonna raise the rates, obviously, the rates that we are gonna issue it is gonna be higher, and we wouldn't get the the amount of savings. So if we're fearful of that happening, then we could go that route. I talked with Jamie, and he and I are of pretty much the same opinion that we don't really see the Fed raising rates too much this year, just because of the slowdown in the economy that's been happening. It could happen. Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball, but I don't necessarily foresee that happening. And I'm not sure that paying an extra premium in June would necessarily be beneficial. But those are the options. Also, the other thing is Illinois. As we all know, Illinois has some financial difficulties. As such, we have one of the worst bond ratings of any of the states in the US. And with that, we pay a premium for any bonds that are issued. And we, being part of the state of Illinois, that kind of flows down to us too. So we actually pay a higher premium than we would if we were in another state that was doing better financially. So if something were to happen to the state of Illinois, where we actually got a lower bond rating, that would also flow to us. So there's the risk that we could possibly have to issue it at a higher rate. So that's basically the background. I don't know if you had any questions. Yes?
We could also refinance after December 19th. That's the first date they're called.
Yes, that is correct.
When, let's say we were to pull the trigger, I have lots of questions, because I've had a day to think about it when you guys haven't. What was my first question? What's the timing between when we decide to pull the trigger and then how long it takes to turn it over?
Yeah.
And have we considered any, I understand that Jamie's familiar with it, but usually you like to consider more than one vendor when you're looking at spending big money. And financing debt, even though it's lower than what we've got now, we're still spending interest with, would it be the same interest rate at all institutions? And are there any, you forgot to mention the cost for about $50,000?
Right, yes. Jamie mentioned that. Normally what happens when you're refinancing bonds, the company who's doing that charges a certain percentage rate. And that he's actually giving us a little bit of discount from what most of the companies would do. And that, when it comes out to dollars, that comes out to about $15,000 to do the refinancing. And Jamie said that it would take about 60 days to get all the paperwork together. And those actually are offered out to the bond community. So it isn't necessarily that Jamie's company would be buying the bonds. So those are actually offered to investors. And there actually has been a pickup in municipal bond issues, mainly because of the federal tax limitations. So muni bonds are tax free. So they've become a better investment for people who are trying to not pay taxes.
But the bonds we have now are not tax-free, correct? The Build America bonds.
I am not 100% sure.
Okay. And there's nothing stopping Congress from reducing that discount they give us further, correct?
There is not. Though I don't necessarily see that happening unless the economy really turns for the worse.
But even if they gave us the whole bag, the 100% and not the 98%, it's still paying less. The
Right.
interest rate is still lower. What was I gonna
Correct.
say? Oh, when do our bonds run out? I forget.
2029.
Yeah, if you look at I put attached on that last page, Andrea,
10 years.
the
10 more
schedule,
years.
yeah, so you can see it. So I highlighted where we're gonna where we're kind of at this point.
So really, it's too soon to be making a decision unless we did the June, which we don't think we want to.
Right, but if you wanted to
But
get the ball rolling, but.
Yeah, I think that when Doug, you and I started talking about this, and I talked to Doug about timing when to present this to the board, we kind of agreed that the sooner you have this information, the better, so we
Oh,
can start
yeah,
to think about it, so.
Right, because if you wanted to do the June, you'd have to get the ball rolling in April, which isn't that far away.
Right, but I do think this is good to have on our radar, but we need to sit. I also agree with you with the economic indicators. As part of my job, I have to watch them very closely because I value companies. And one thing I have been watching is the increase in people behind on their car payments. We've got 3 million people, and it's rising every month behind on their car payments. And that's one of the things, they'll pay their mortgage before they pay their car payment.
Right.
So, and a lot of it is part of the car industry's fault, because they're selling cars that people can't afford. And they're stretching their
Like the
payments
mortgage.
out to beyond 8 years.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
So, that, when you allow people to have more debt than they should, then there's a, when they.
We've seen it
even though
happen
we're at-
before.
Well, yeah,
That's
didn't
what-
we do that?
Even
Yeah.
though our unemployment rate is too low, if we have, we're right now, have a luxury of low interest rates, low unemployment, and low gas prices. Gas prices rising can take away what disposable income a lot of people have, and that will throw a lot of people into, that's what triggered the last Great Recession. So, but these are good news as far as keeping interest rates low. So because of these indicators, and housing starts are also slowing. When somebody buys a house, they have, the first 3 years, they spend a lot of money fixing it up. So that's why housing starts are important, and people moving from house to house. But, there's less of that. So I don't see a lot of risk with interest rates rising in the next 6 months. This is not something we have to decide today, but I do think it's definitely a good idea based on the numbers we have now.
Mhm.
Because we would make it back in, we're talking about lowering our interest rate on the lowest rate ones by 0.5%, and $34,000 a year would make up the cost of $15,000 in the first year.
Yeah, the first year. Mhm.
Anybody else have any questions? George?
Oh, you know I'm interested. I've not been comfortable with the whole Build America Bond program since the library started it.
Mhm. Because of the uncertainty of
Exactly.
government. Well, we have an election year coming up too, so who knows what.
We always have an election. Every other year is an election year.
No, I mean for the.
And
you know,
every other
the
year,
feds,
Congress comes
you
up,
know.
and you never know how they're
Sure.
gonna vote.
Yeah.
And that's what, $80,000 in our budget right now?
Yeah, approximately, yeah.
I think I speak for all of us when we commend you for watching
Yeah,
this and
thank
keeping
you.
on top of it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Could we recommend another follow-up, maybe like in a couple of months?
Yeah,
or
that would be a good idea.
Close to June, and then from there on, we can
So,
much more solid.
mhm. Yeah,
Who
but
knows,
it's
maybe
really
interest
worth
rates
talking
will
about.
drop.
It could be.
Yeah.
I won't quite count on that, but that's probably not a good thing if interest rates are actually dropping.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the explanation.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
Thanks, Doug.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome, Ryan.
Hey, you're welcome, you're welcome. Yes, have a
Thank
phone
you.
or a cookie, come on.
All right.
All right, that it?
Dying with that chocolate right there.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
If it were in the place of the food, I'd be,
Go.
no, I'm taking them home.
Oh, okay. I want my coffee, but you can have.
Okay, we are on the consent agenda. Anyone want to remove any items from the consent?
Did you want to remove item A?
A?
Yeah.
For those minutes?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. That's a good catch. I will remove that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, anybody else? It's funny, I remember when someone else is absent, but not when I'm absent.
Because you're never
That never
absent.
happens.
You never know.
I suppose that's true. Okay, so can I have a motion for the approval of the consent, B through
B through G?
G?
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained. Okay, now the minutes.
I move to accept the secretary's report as presented.
I'll second.
Discussion? To make a roll call.
Parkapisi,
Yes.
Sutton,
Aye.
Cheng,
Aye.
Kotzini,
Aye.
Beckwith,
Abstained.
Lansdowne, absent.
Okay. My report's on page 33. Anything? Anyone else have a report?
Just a comment, and I know we discussed this informally before the meeting, but the large crowd that was here today for the Prairie Trail School Day,
Yeah.
I think was a good testament to our outreach staff, and just wanted to comment on it.
Like, I thought I was gonna have to park at the high school.
No parking whatsoever. I know, it's amazing.
That's awesome. When I was coming in, there were some kids leaving, and they were saying to the parent that was driving them how funny and hilarious everything was. They really sounded like they had a great time. Okay, you're up. Page 35, Brian's report.
Yeah, are there any questions? Just a couple things to point out. Yeah, well, I know you met Jane at the committee of the whole meeting, Jane Lindquist, the new Friends president, so. Also, Betty Sporton's new secretary, Bill Ballack, is on one of the directors of the Friends. And I also put in the report the AARP program. So we have Mondays and Fridays. This is one, I think maybe the only location in the area where there are no appointments for AARP, because there are people that need the flexibility, and they provide the individuals that offer the tax preparation assistance. And we put in a lot of work managing the crowds, because people, even though we have a lottery system which we've implemented, there's a comment in the patron comments
I
about the
saw
lottery
that,
system.
yeah.
It's still, people get here, there can be some verbal exchanges and stuff, but Eddie Christon in particular does a great job of managing that. But it's a really amazing program. You can see 272 people through February. This is a program that I mean, so many of the people that come to get their assistance with their tax returns, they rely on the money they receive from their tax returns for very basic needs. So it's a really important program. It causes some headaches sometimes, but it's really important. So.
How long have you been doing that in the library?
Sandy, you know how long we've been doing it?
It's been a number of years. It has to be at least 10 years.
Oh, really?
Longer than
Really?
that.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely longer.
Longer.
I was on the board.
Yeah, it's been, yeah.
But, it involves a lot of staff time, just with us managing it, but with facilities set up, so, but it's a nice, return. I mean, it's a really valuable service to the community, so. Any other questions? I will point out too that the, Electronic Content Consortium Board meeting, so I think you might recall, maybe you don't, so just to go back a couple of years, we realized that there was an issue with the way our My Media Mall, basically our electronic content, like our ebooks, e-audiobooks, were being handled. Currently Libraries First, but they're kind of a third party, they manage that for us, but we realized there were some questions about how the money was being utilized, how much they were actually advocating for libraries. So, I got involved with that. I was part of the committee to establish led the committee to establish the intergovernmental agreement. And I continue to serve on the board mainly for continuity's sake. And we are very close to, pretty much, there's a vote out there to establish independence from Libraries First, which would give the libraries control, which I think really will improve that collection. So I'm excited about that. So I'll keep you posted on that. But that vote is out there. So just to give you an update on that, what I've been doing with that. So.
Anything else? Questions? Okay, so, George, you're up.
Okay.
Page
Page 47. So these are the correlated results with the average number score. And I did add a point scale on the rating scale just to give you an idea of what the numbers mean. So everywhere where you see a 4-0, as you look through the document, those are areas that, or questions where every member that responded, and everyone did participate this year. That's where everybody thought were doing a great job all the time. Always good to hear. Ones where the numbers are lower, that's where 1 or 2 or more people gave us a 3. We did not have anything below a 3 in any of our categories. So as you look through, I did add comments that everybody added to their sections within the section. And our final comments are at the end. I just wanted to know if anybody had any questions going through this.
I just thought it was interesting that the board effectiveness, we voted all of us at 4.0. I thought it was wonderful.
I think Joe and I can speak from a time when
Well, that
we
wasn't the
had
case.
other board members who didn't do any of their work, and it all
Oh.
fell on to just a couple of board members, and so we've got all board members doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is, we love.
Mhm.
I would say we're a well-oiled machine at this point.
Mhm.
We don't always agree with each other on everything, but
Well, not supposed to.
exactly, we do it nicely. It's almost like we're in Canada.
Almost. Almost.
Or at least Minnesota.
Yeah.
Definitely that.
That's-
Thanks for doing it, George. It's nice to have it all.
It was easy.
Mhm.
So where are we going next?
So next is board goals,
Yeah. Can we talk about how we did on last year's goals first, maybe?
please.
Okay, so
Uh-huh.
these were our last year's goals. Does everybody remember what they were? Well,
I know I
Jennifer
didn't
wasn't
do
even here.
mine.
I'm sorry?
I know I didn't do mine.
Yeah, that's the first one. Okay, so the first one is, we had this project to, just, this is for Jennifer, about documenting our board knowledge, and we want to have a treasurer's binder, and Andrea and I were gonna work on that, and we didn't.
I think you changed your job. Oh, never mind.
So, anyway, we also had the goal, though, to learn more about the Friends, and that was the time that we brought Christy and Diana here, and we learned more about the Friends, so that one was finished. We also said that we might need to do more help with fundraising, but really, and last year we did the bingo in the books, what do we call that,
Like
board
this.
favorites or something?
Oh, yeah.
Board,
That's
Oh, yeah,
right, that's
basket.
right, we did do that.
board, yeah, board favorites.
Board
Yes,
Uh-huh.
it's down here.
Board basket favorites, yeah.
But it turned out then, of course, that the fundraising thing for this year is really
Yeah.
Ryan's. I mean, we're not part of,
With
we
the-
will be later as it develops.
With the
but-
bequest for the Library Learning
Yes, with the,
Society, right?
right. Mhm. And then the other thing was to participate in the strat plan, next strat plan, which is coming. So we really just have the one thing, I think, that needs to stay on for next time, which is the one binder. I have some other ideas about that too, maybe. What would you think of doing videos? Because, you did some trainings here at the meeting, and maybe it doesn't have to be a paper thing. We can talk about that later, but anyway, just a thought.
Well, that is a thought.
Okay, so that's that part. What do you want to go, where do you want to go next then?
Well, we've got one goal that's carrying over, and that's the treasurer's binder.
Right.
What other ideas do we have for goals for 2019, 2020?
Okay. Well, an obvious one is just the strategic plan, the new strategic
Yeah.
plan, which, when we look at in April, when I present to the board the big picture review of the budget, there'll be money in there for a strategic planning consultant, and I'm starting to gather some names, which I can, my hope is to whittle it down to a few and present those individuals to the board and see what the board thinks about someone to work with. So that's maybe it's kind of an obvious one, but I think it's important
No, I think it should stay on there too.
just to stay on there.
I mean, when I look at the comments where people wrote 3 to 5 areas where we could be more effective, to me, it seems like there could be some goals in there. Does anyone else agree? I mean, not that I'm asking, you could say if you want.
Can I interrupt for a
Uh-huh.
second? One thing we're getting is a new board,
Yes,
we hopefully we'll have, many of the same people we have now.
yeah,
One new member for sure.
Yes, a vacancy to fill.
Definitely a new member coming on no matter what. So maybe we should work that in our goals somehow, you know. Hopefully we'll keep the same cooperative spirit that we have.
Right?
So, you know, maybe whoever it is, you know, just we welcome them and try to be as cooperative as possible. I don't know
So-
how to actually say it, but
Mentoring of new trustees, is that what you mean?
yes,
Okay.
it's a good way to say it.
Okay, do any of these, well, first of all, I think we need to make the list of things that we're gonna do not too big.
Yeah.
Because if we get too many, things don't get done. So, anyone else see anything under this 3 to 5 areas that you think is a goal that we could work on? Or that you would want us to work on? I mean, the one there that says, identify and nurture potential new
Yeah.
board members is sort of akin to what you're saying.
Yes.
It's sort of a
Mhm, same.
succession planning thing.
Do we want to do, because I just heard we're still going to have bingo in the books this year, April 26th.
Mhm.
Do we want to do another board basket?
I was gonna ask that in the announcements, if people wanna do it.
I'm
I'm up for it.
happy to do that.
I'd be happy to do it, yeah.
I could,
So,
I can help.
were you weren't here then, right?
No.
No.
Okay, so what we did was we just called the basket, I can't remember.
Board
Did we have to get
favorites.
the-
Board
Did we
favorites.
have to get the
So it
basket?
could be a book or.
Yeah.
Yeah, one
wine,
of the elements of
recipe.
bingo is we've raffle off baskets, so people can buy tickets, they put their name in and then we draw, so that's the idea. So there would be a basket, it would list everything that was in there.
And
Raffle
it could be
basket.
anything, like
Anything.
he said, it could be your favorite book, or I brought my favorite wine, George brought that really cool olive oil from the, the shanty.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, just,
Kathleen brought recipes or
yeah,
something,
recipes,
so-
people brought different
Whatever.
foods and,
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah,
My
it
daughter
was
did
fun.
something like that at her school too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For one of those events.
Mhm.
I looked in the bag, it was a very popular
Yeah.
basket.
It
I
was.
can't remember, I
It's one of the
think
most
Jan
popular
won it.
ones, if memory
Really?
serves. Yeah,
The board one?
yeah, it's really popular. Might have been, there were several bottles of wine in it. but-
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, I bet it was the one.
Yeah, there was one.
There was.
But no, all kidding aside, it was a really interesting basket. There were a lot of appealing things, like the olive oil was,
Unusual,
I mean, yeah,
uh-huh.
it's
Yeah.
great. I think there were some books, maybe
Yeah,
favorite
there
books
were
in there
Yeah,
too. So it
I
was a
brought my
nice.
favorite
Yeah.
books when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and I can't remember.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I won the children's book basket.
Okay, so we're gonna do,
Yeah,
we'll
let's
do
do that,
that
yeah.
too, but we don't need to make that a board
No.
goal, but we'll just do that. So anything else from this list at the bottom?
I kind of like the do more short board training items.
Yeah, I love
You know,
that.
I had a question about that. So I wasn't sure if the person who wrote this means we should keep doing it or we should do more of them. Because I went back and looked. We did it half the time last year, 6 out of 12 months. And do you think that's where we want to be, or do you want it to be more often?
I think that's often enough. I
I
just
do
think we
too.
should continue
Keep
it through
doing
the
it.
year.
Different
Okay,
ones,
yeah.
Mhm.
We still have some things on the list, I
Yes, we
think.
do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If if the agenda's too long,
Then
we nix it.
I agree,
So that's how come it was only half the time.
yeah.
And
Well,
we
that
could do
seems
them
right.
If we have a short meeting, committee of the whole, we could do it there as well too.
Mhm.
'cause it
That's
doesn't
where we
take action.
mostly were doing it, was in
Committee of the
CW,
whole.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
I find them helpful, so
Mhm.
I do appreciate them.
Okay. All right, so am I correct? Treasurer's binder, strat plan, and mentoring new trustees.
Who's gonna be in charge of funny? Because now that we've lost
I
Kathleen.
know.
Of what?
Funny,
Oh,
air quotes.
I thought you said funding.
Kathleen, she's selling her house, maybe.
I don't know, you
Sadly,
think
I
you could
have
take
no
over?
sense of
for it?
humor that I'm aware of, therefore I cannot participate in it.
I don't know, I thought that was pretty
Okay,
funny,
That was
George.
pretty dry of
Just
you.
volunteers.
You came up with a really good one
Oh,
today.
dear.
Or we
Oh,
can
that was a
appoint a
joke.
comedian for the next, board
That's for
person.
the moment funny.
No, she's quick.
Okay, anything else on this?
Searching comedian.
So I will try to remember to put the goals on the extranet. If I remember how to do it. I think I still have to contact Amy Blanchard, correct? Okay. Anything else on this?
That's all I have.
All right. Capital planning.
I think the biggest specific thing with the capital projects is this, as you heard, I think you heard Kevin say before the meeting, the study room chair replacement, which was $14,000. You know, my kudos to Kevin for successfully lobbying the manufacturer to replace the failing chairs with different models, because it was a large percentage of those chairs that failed, so we're gonna get those replaced, and so we want to pay for that, so that's great, good work, Kevin, excellent. We're still in the process of the details, these capital projects. But what I did do, and I didn't print a copy of this, but what I did is into the capital projects model, what I did is I went ahead and put in, I didn't assume any savings on the debt refinancing, which would change these numbers, but I put in the minimum wage increase and what it would look like, what would it make the capital plan look like? Because obviously, there's more money that's going towards personnel because of the minimum wage increase. That means there's less for capital projects. So it does have a significant, impact if you look at it. So you look out to, year 13, fiscal year 28, 29, right when we're getting to the point where we've got our debt paid off. The previous version of this, we still had about 71% of yearly expenditure available, whereas when you plug in those numbers, it's about 62%. So I think what that means is, as we look at capital projects, the board, as you always are, be very diligent and thoughtful about what to fund. And also, and this is something we talked about as an organization, we're going to take a real hard look at the way our staffing is structured and make some changes. I mean, obviously, just for the record, we need all the staff that we have, but maybe there's a way we can utilize the staff in a smarter way. So we're going to take a look at that, and hopefully that will result in savings down the road. But I just wanted to, put that figure into our capital expenditures projected out, because that does have an impact, clearly. So
maybe we'll get some staff savings from the new program you presented last meeting. Yes.
Yeah. So, but still, I still think that looks good. I mean, that's nothing to, that it's not a bad place to be to have. It's still within the guidelines of the policy, but obviously, you'd rather have 71% than 62%. Needless to say. So, but then that's the update for now. I will say that looking back the past couple of years, it's late March where we get our revenue numbers in, and we have we project what we think our revenue is going to be, but we'll know exactly late March. So the next time we meet to talk about the budget in April, I think it's the April regular board meeting, or maybe committee of the whole, where I'll have a big picture, real early rough draft of the complete budget, not just the capital projects, which we'll continue to discuss in detail, but what the budget looks like for fiscal year 1920. So that's the update. I don't have a lot of details to report. I was hoping there would be some more things on the capital projects, but I know, Kevin is working diligently on getting some more data about some of these projects. He's also been short. I will announce that we should have announced this earlier. We have a new facilities tech who started this week, so we're getting back to full strength. So that's a good thing. So
in the meantime, it's probably taking a lot of Kevin's time.
Mm-hmm.
yes, yeah. So.
And we're still not at full strength because we've lost the dear head of our children's department.
Right.
And how is that working into your budget planning? I know there's, we're gonna replace her and all of that, but also as far as doing the budget, because that position is that falling onto Noreen's shoulders?
Well, so Rebecca Raleigh is sort of been it really has been like the interim head of adult services, or children's services, and she hasn't been doing quite everything. But between Rebecca and Noreen is, as you well know, is great at the budgeting process, and she's taken the lion's share of that. But really, the whole department has chipped in with. So it's a team effort. So. Yeah, Noreen's been spending a lot more time with youth services, but Rebecca has also shouldered more responsibilities, and I think the whole team has stepped up.
Well, I'm meeting with Brian tomorrow to go over all of the departments that fall under me, the budget stuff, so we'll be talking tomorrow.
So we're managing, but yeah.
We're on track.
Yeah, we're still on track. It would have been nice to have all the capital stuff kind of settled at this point, but we're
We've
still.
been doing it for a while now, this new method, getting everything done before the end of the fiscal year. We seem to have it down pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. So it's a team effort. We'll all work hard on it together. So that's
Okay.
all I really have.
Next.
Okay.
Next is 3031, alcoholic beverages, page 54.
I move that
So
policy
we'll go-
3031 alcoholic beverages be approved as presented.
Can I have a second for that?
I second it.
Yeah.
Okay, so discussion. So I have one thing about this policy. I think Ryan and I had a little bit of a miscommunication, and I just want to make sure that everybody understood it the way that we understood it. We understood that what we said when we did this policy was that alcoholic beverages would only be served if it was a library event.
Right.
Okay, so then when I got home, I said, well, then what do we need this form for? And then why do we need Article 7 at all? And I think that was sort of, somehow got lost in the shuffle. And when I talked to Ryan about it today, he agreed that those should go.
Makes sense, yeah.
But I want to make sure that it makes sense to you to eliminate those.
I think that was a question that we raised when we were reviewing
We were-
it, if it
yeah,
was
we
just
did
strictly
talk
for,
about
Right.
for library programs or not, because there was something in the
Right.
policy that
It was uncertain, yeah.
Yeah, it was not very clear.
I thought Article 7 was, like at bingo in the books, there was somebody serving beer or wine
Right.
for a couple of tickets, and that was for that specific.
If we have a caterer, we still need Article 7. I don't know whether we would have a caterer for a library event.
Do we need someone who's serving alcohol? Do they have to have the liquor license, or?
No,
No.
they have to have that insurance.
Yeah, so the way it works now is we go to the village
Village,
and they get a temporary liquor license and yeah, we have had volunteers in the past. I think the guy from Zoom Beer comes in but to answer your question, no, I mean, we use volunteers and that's fine with the village and that's,
So we don't
we've got the
need to
insurance.
have a specific qualified vendor.
Right.
Unless we decide to have a caterer for a library event for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
But even if we did, the form asks about the educational purpose of the program, and it just doesn't seem,
Yeah, let's say for the 50th anniversary, we have a big gala event and we bring a caterer in for that. I don't know what purpose it would serve to have them fill out an application for us.
right, if we've hired them and we say that they say they're gonna conform to all laws and get a permit, and they'll have the insurance.
Seems redundant, doesn't it?
It sounds more like for an external group.
Yes, it does.
Yes, which is what we said we wouldn't do, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it says, the thing that I would want to know from a caterer is I want their proof of their dram shop liability insurance. That's
Yeah.
and that's already stated in Article 4 of the policy.
Right.
That's the important thing, in my opinion, in terms of an
Yeah.
outside group.
So we could strike it.
We
Yeah.
can strike Article 7 on the last page.
And the form.
On the form, yeah.
Okay, I'll amend my motion. I move that we accept policy 3031 as amended to remove Article 7, retitle Article 8 as Article 7, and delete page 3, the application to deliver, sell, or serve alcoholic beverages.
Second.
Further discussion?
Yeah, makes sense.
Let's have a roll call since it's a new policy.
Cheng,
Aye.
Farkapisi,
Aye.
Sutton,
Aye.
Kotzinis,
Aye.
Linsdau absent, Beckwith,
Aye.
ayes have it.
Okay, changing the date of April meetings.
You want me to discuss
Yeah.
this? Well,
Go ahead.
So, this is purely for selfish reasons. I just found out April 16th that at Woodland Primary School, they're doing like the spring performance concert thing where my son Kyle will be performing, so. But there also are practical reasons to move the April 23rd meeting and maybe even committee of the whole if the board is amicable to that, because right now I think the committee of the whole is April 2nd. If we change it to April 9th, that would give us more time to put together the budget, and then we'd have more details for the first time we look at that draft budget. And the same with April 23rd, it just gives another week to have more information, so. But and the other thing about moving it to April 23rd is that, as it stands, Joe was going to be unable to run the April 16th meeting, which George is going to be able to capably
George was
step
gonna do
in.
it, yeah.
But if we move it to April 23rd, we will have President Beckwith here to run the meeting, so. But obviously, if this is not a possibility, it's, it's not a huge deal.
Well, I'll say what I told Ryan when he brought this up, which is that I think if he wants to go off and be a great dad for a night, I'm all in favor.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Absolutely.
unless we don't have enough people who can switch, then
No. I
I'm
can
all
do
for
it.
Otherwise-
moving it for my own selfish reasons, because I'm planning to do absolutely nothing that day.
The 16th, yes,
Oh, yeah.
for sure. I think that's a fair.
okay, so,
Oh, the other thing too, if we move to the whole, is that April 2nd is election day, so that would mean no meeting on election day.
So wait, we would just do the 9th and the 23rd?
I mean, if you
Offset
wanted to.
both meetings by 1 week.
Right.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
we don't have to vote on that,
Yeah,
right?
We just have to,
You just
make
have
sure
to
we
post it, yeah.
properly and
so
change
we're
the.
getting,
I have a 7 a.m. meeting in Lombard.
Boy.
No, wherever the McDonald's campus is, Oak Brook.
No, they moved.
No, the old one. I'm not going to McDonald's,
Okay.
so it'll be a long day.
So it's the 9th?
I just might be crabby.
that's all
When we're
right.
talking about the budget, then maybe this is a bad idea.
Uh-oh.
9th and the
It's
23rd.
delightful, Andrew, you always.
Wait, on the 9th or the 23rd is your meeting in Lombard?
No, but the committee of the whole,
Committee of the whole, okay, on the 9th.
April 9th.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh, wait, maybe it's the 11th.
So,
So it's
It's the
9,
9th and
that's right,
23rd.
just say 9.
9th and 23rd.
That's the
Mhm.
Tuesdays.
Okay, anybody got anything else on this?
Thank you.
Anyone have, you're welcome. Anything, agenda for, items for next time, anything?
Status update on our landscaping project?
You want that? Okay.
Was there any action items or follow-ups for Community from last time?
Yeah, did everyone get the email about Communico? Because I think I addressed the questions the board had about it in
Yes.
terms of local libraries. George looked at the contract, had some good feedback for me, but no
Yeah.
landmines there or anything.
No landmines, just caution.
Right.
All right, I move that the board enter into executive session along with Executive Director Livergood to consider the selection of a person to fill a vacancy in the Office of Library Trustees. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Do we have to say what the ILCS version is in the motion?
You know, when I was reading it, I noticed that it wasn't part of the motion, but I don't think it matters that much, do you? Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
We'll skip it. We'll have to
Okay, 8:10.
catch that next time. How do you know that?
George, you
My
should have
daughter
talked
gets-
faster.
My daughter gets out of class at 8, so she's not waiting in the library for me, CLC.
Oh,
Oh,
8:20.
All right,
Right.
8:26,
So where are
we're
we
back
going?
in
Let's finish this
session,
up.
and we're not going to be appointing a policy chair tonight. Anyone want to speak in public forum? Anybody have announcements besides what's down here?
I just wanted to add a comment that Lauren Ware, who's the librarian at one of the Prairie.
River Trail.
Thank you. Mentioned to me that she was really pleased to get the summer reading program info being disseminated earlier than normal. Than in past years, she wants to send it out with packets for her students, and it would often come in beginning of June, but that it's been disseminated earlier, and she was thrilled to pieces, so
Cool.
kudos to whoever took care of that. I don't know.
That was a team effort. I mean,
Yeah,
that's one of the
well,
things.
it was earlier by a couple months, I think she
Yeah.
said, and it was wonderful because she could put the packets together and send them out to the families early, so.
Cool.
she
I
was
realize I
pleased.
should have brought this up earlier when we were doing goals, but remember when, in the fall, Joe and I were getting our signatures for petitions.
Mhm.
And we stood out in our Freedom of Information
Yes.
zone, and a lot of patrons came in and said hello to us, and we really enjoyed meeting the patrons, and people
Mhm.
showed interest in
It
the
was fun.
board and things like that. So I think it might be a nice thing to do, when the weather is good, and
Yeah,
just,
Coffee with the board?
yeah. Or
just, stand outside for an hour or two.
Greetings, yeah, huh?
Would be, because you get everybody as they're coming and going in.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody posted our
Yeah,
pictures
different.
anyway. Ryan.
So just something for you guys to think about, we can put it on a summer agenda.
Okay. And speaking of policy work, we have to fix that policy that says where we stand, because now we have Celebration Square, and that's not what it says where we should stand.
Oh,
It's on my radar.
But it'll be,
you've been acting
Clear.
policy
Oh my
chair for 2
goodness.
minutes. and you're
Yeah,
up.
I was just gonna say, nothing is past. Oh my gosh.
Okay, and we're gonna do board favorites, so,
Yeah.
bring your stuff next time.
Committee,
Committee of the whole.
April 9th.
Let's see, the regular meeting will be too late, right?
Yeah, because April 23rd, well,
Yeah, that might be kinda late.
it would be preferred to April
And
9th.
Noreen, I can't remember, did I have to get a basket?
We did
No,
get
I
a,
We
think
might have
they
some.
have some things, no, they might have baskets.
You know what, I'll ask Laura, shall I do that?
We have some baskets back
Okay.
there already that people have.
All right,
just-
I'll ask her.
Yeah, if you have a
So
random
bring it-
basket that's nice that you don't need, we would take it.
if I did a basket that had like, because I've been considering like pie pan, and rolling pin and stuff with,
cute.
I'll teach you how to make a pie.
Oh,
Is
cool.
that something that would be against the rules, or would that be within the rules?
Could it be pie and brownies?
Wow.
I'll give you the box. Seriously.
I'll suck it from a brownie.
All right, any other announcements? All right, who would like to move to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained.
So we're gonna try and bring this
All
on
right.
the 9th then, yes.
8:29.
God forbid the person
Bring
who
our
tried to
favorite
propose
things.
that.
I'll fix this and send it.
Sammy, nice to see